Hey guys, back with another video. So yeah, I got a haircut. And this is the first first video that I've written a script for. A small script, but it's just like the blueprints, the stuff I might forget to talk about. So that's a big plus in the production quality. So in case you're wondering why I have these boxes here, I'm gonna be, bagging and boarding comics after this, but there were a couple things I wanted to bring up before the review. For one, I did get a comment a few months ago that kind of bothered me about because I mentioned that Betty Brant was Peter's first girlfriend. Because I thought I remember reading in one of these that he asked her out and they went on a date. And then also in the Amazing Spider-Man, in the video game where you collect comic books and they've got issues and everything. I thought I had read that they'd broken up and Peter was glad that they'd broken up because it was like the first appearance of the Rhino and he was glad that they were done for. So I thought I remembered them being a couple. I could be wrong. If you want to fact check me on that, feel free in the comments below. And also, I did not mention that I don't think I've mentioned about the Hellboy trailer. I saw that, and it was interesting. I feel like we didn't really get a whole lot of. I mean, we got like a few jokes, but I feel like this one is gonna be it's gonna be interesting because the last one was PG-13. I thought it was handled well. I'll be honest, I haven't really read any of the Hellboy comics, but I thought it was fine. A good movie, anyway. I'd like to read the comics eventually, but we'll see how it goes. But I thought that it had a decent amount. Like, Hellboy was mostly the joke character, if you will. He'd like get hit and he'd make a joke about something, but he was still like a badass. And he smoked and had a gun in his right hand of doom. But I don't know. I feel like the new one, at least from the vibes I got, it seemed like it was a bit more focused on comedy, where I thought the other one with Ron Perlman was a good balance. And of course, Ron Perlman, I thought he fit the look of the character just fine. And I feel like this new one looks worse actually, because in the posters, I thought oh, that looks fine, that looks good, but then in the trailer it looked a lot worse than what I had thought, because they had promotional material. I saw there was a set photo and they had the poster, and then the trailer comes out and it looks a lot worse, I thought, which is weird. But yeah, that was just a little bit of a side note. Now on to the Killing Joke. Now I was very disappointed because when you open the book, there's no, you start the book and there's no sex scene between Batman and Batgirl. So clearly they did not adapt the movie well enough they cut out the whole sex scene, which is really disappointing for me. Because as you know, the movie's just top tier material. So that was a little disappointing, but other than that, the book was fine, that was a joke, of course, but for the actual review, this is the deluxe edition, wherever it says that right there, somewhere. This is the deluxe edition, so it's not the actual thing, I guess you'd say. Because from the pictures I've seen, the colors are a little wonky, I guess. And I just asked for this for Christmas. I didn't ask for the deluxe edition. I just got the deluxe edition, which I'm happy with because I've seen pictures of the original. I don't like the coloring. And this is the way that I believe this is the way that Brian Bolland wanted it to be colored. It's just more realistic looking. So I like that a lot more than what I've seen of the original. I haven't read the original, of course, but this is the first time I've read this. I know it's been, talked about to death, and honestly, because there's a lot of comics I haven't read. Honestly, most of my shelf I haven't read. I'm gonna get to that, here in the next couple weeks. I'm going to review something on Tuesday, because I've got a lot of free time on my hands, so we're going to just try to read a lot of comic books. We're going to try to at least finish The Shelf, and see how that goes. Because I do have a few things that I said I was going to review, and I never got around to reviewing them. So we're going to do that. But, on to the actual book at hand. So yeah, I thought this was a really good book. Of course, it's written by Alan Moore. If you don't know, I have sort of mixed feelings about him, because, he's a fine writer, he's a good writer. He's written plenty of classic stories, Watchmen, Killing Joke. He did a good run on Swamp Thing. I'm sure there's other stuff I can't think of at the moment. But yeah, he's a really good writer. But he's also a pretentious jerk, in my opinion. Because I've seen, quotes about him, just, I just feel like he's a jerk, in my opinion. He doesn't really care about a lot of the stuff he's written, I guess you could say. He doesn't really care about comics. I guess I can kind of understand it from a point of, probably some of the fans got on his nerves. But it bothers me. But yeah, this is basically just like a Joker origin story, kind of. Or at least the main one that people point to. Because, this has the, the classic line of, one bad day. But yeah, the story's really, really well written. It was kind of quicker than I thought it would be, if I'm honest. Because I thought it was going to be, a long, drawn-out thing. But it was honestly just kind of quick. Batman goes to visit the Joker, and it seems he's escaped, and he's got a plan, and he, does the whole Batgirl shoots her in the back thing, or at least in the spine, and then he tortures Jim Gordon, and Batman stops him. But yeah, it was really interesting. I liked it a lot. The art I thought was good. The colors, again, I liked the colors a lot, because, yeah. And it's just really, interesting from a psychological standpoint. There's the scene with there's the scene of I'm gonna read. I won't do any character voice or anything. But the Joker's talking to Jim Gordon, memories. So treacherous, one moment you're lost in a carnival of delights with poignant childhood aromas and flashing neon of puberty. All that sentimental candy floss. The next, it leads you somewhere you don't want to go. Somewhere dark and cold, filled with the damp, ambiguous shapes of things you hoped you were forgotten. Memories can be vile, repulsive, little brutes like children, I suppose, but we can live without them. Can we live without them? Memories are what our reason is based upon. If we can't face them, we deny reason itself. Although, why not? We aren't contractually tied down to rationality. So when you find yourself locked onto an unpleasant train of thought, heading for the places in your past where the screaming is unbearable, remember, there's always madness. Madness is the emergency exit. You can just step outside and close the door on all those dreadful things that happened. You can lock them away forever. I just think that's a really interesting quote. Of course, you probably don't want to analyze the Joker too deeply, because if you do, there's the possibility of becoming the Joker. But yeah, I always think this is interesting to look at from a psychology standpoint. And there's the thing about the deluxe edition is there's another little like 4-page little thing that Brian Bolland wrote. He just wrote it and drew it himself, and that kind of ties along with the ambiguity sort of thing. And there's another quote I feel like sort of sidesteps the whole thing of superheroes and everything. I figure the only way you can be truly good is if you've tried being good and you've tried being bad, and being good feels better. I think that's interesting because that's kind of like what the whole basis of superheroes is based upon. It's the whole groundwork because like the thing with like Spider-Man is he doesn't want to relive the whole thing of Uncle Ben, and with the black suit, and that sort of tests his limits of being a hero. And again, if we're talking about Batman, he always like steps the line of wanting to kill the Joker and all that stuff. Like in The Long Halloween, I wrote or read that. I didn't write it, but I read The Long Halloween. I thought that was interesting because there was the line of like wanting to, like avenge his parents, and like sometimes you have to deal out the proper punishment. It's not an exact quote, but something like that. And he's getting ready to kill, I think, Two-Face maybe. It's been a hot minute since I've read it. But, there's a lot of quotes like that. And that's the thing I like about superheroes is they, at least if they're written well enough, they can delve into psychology and sort of like mental health and like, what is good and bad, what is, how far is going too far. I think that's interesting. But, yeah, that's, the story's really well written. I think the art's awesome. And of course there's the lovely ambiguity of the ending too, that people always talk about, I guess. I mean, I would like to think that he probably didn't kill him, because I believe this story is in continuity now, so I mean, it's kind of obvious that he didn't kill him, but there's also if you want to look at it a darker standpoint, then he probably didn't kill him, or he did kill him, I'd like to think he didn't, because, that kind of defeats the whole thing of Batman. And, the story is in continuity, from what I've heard. I think it's in continuity, because the whole Oracle thing with Barbara Gordon, so I believe, probably didn't kill him. I guess it's kind of up in the air. But that's what makes it a good book. So yeah, I'd probably give this story a solid A. Of course, there are more books to come. I've got, I still haven't finished my Deadpool book, because I have a collection of like the first couple issues of Deadpool, like it's like the first appearance of Deadpool, then his first solo series, his first like Deadpool core, couple of those. So I need to read that. I've got Daredevil by Mark Waid I need to read, Kraven's Last Hunt, and Marvels. Those are the main four I'm going to read and review soon. And again, I've got an interesting Spider-Man video coming soon, whenever I can get all the materials involved to make it. And then we're going to make it, and it's going to be a great video. If you want to watch my last video, that was a Spider-Man video as well. And I do have some interesting things coming in the mail. I've got a DVD I'm going to review, and I've got some, if you follow me on Instagram, I've been doing a lot of cosplay, so stay tuned for that. Keep reading comics, and I'll see you in the next review. Peace.